Soccer 2017 in Suffield. We watch English Premier League games routinely on NBC Sports. We watch the Mexican League on Univision, and we know Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, as well as we know LeBron James. Kids begin playing the sport competitively at 6 years old, and by the time they reach high school, have played in countless town and travel league games. It's a far cry from what soccer was like for Suffield boys in the 1950s and 60s. Most members of the 1960 Suffield High soccer team never even played in an organized game until they reached their freshman year of high school. In 1956, only 19 boys tried out for the 11-person soccer team, but growing success in the sport quickly boosted that number to over 60 for the upcoming 1960 season. The probability for a successful campaign was a bit of a question mark in 1960, since Suffield had lost 8 players to graduation, including 6 starters, from a highly successful 13-1-2 team. Returning starters Dave Lill, Ray Galetta, Bob Chase, Woody Jacobus, and goalie Dave Landry would anchor the team. They would be joined by several other seniors and underclassmen who had logged valuable minutes in the previous season. At fullback were best buddies George Belmore and George Leal. Rounding out the halfback core were Gary McQuillan, Donald Kennett, and John Zaniski. New additions to the front line were Louis Favreau, Bob Dunai, Rod Ritter, Lou Grabowski, and Peter Gaughan. Notable backup players included Eddie Harriman, John Smith, Randy Walker, John Samsel, Paul Cochran, Toby Moffett, and Alan Tallis. The team was coached by Bill, Mr. A. Atkinson, ably assisted by Stan Mila and Arnold Shields. The season got off to a rather bizarre start as their initial opponent, Rocky Hill, had to forfeit the game because the bus hired to take them to Suffield was a no-show. Any question mark about how good this team would be was answered early as they reeled off 9 consecutive victories to open the season, including 7 lopsided wins. Only Ellsworth, who lost 1-0, was able to somewhat contain the Wildcats. Next up was 6-1 Bloomfield, and that game ended in a hard-fought 0-0 tie. With Dave Lill and Ray Galetta scoring at a record pace, and Suffield's stingy defense giving up almost no goals, the team rolled to 6 more victories, highlighted by a decisive 4-1 win over Ellsworth and a 4-0 drubbing of Bloomfield in their rematch games. For their 15-0-1 record, Suffield claimed the Charter Oak North League Championship and would now face South champion Bacon Academy in a battle for overall league supremacy. In a back-and-forth battle, with no team willing to give, the game ended in a 2-2 draw. With their sparkling 15-0-2 record in hand, Suffield now moved on to the state tournament, only to be facing their cross-league rival Bacon Academy once again in the state semifinals. This time, Suffield would make no mistake about who was number 1 and handed the Bobcats a decisive 3-0 thrashing. Old reliables Lill and Galetta each scored a goal, and Peter Gaughan added 1 to complete the scoring. Now it was on to the state title game, and standing in Suffield's way was old nemesis Hale Ray of Moodus. A little history here to preface this game. Back in 1958, Suffield went to their only previous final, and who should they face but Hale Ray? In a bruising double overtime game, the combatants each scored 1 goal and were declared co-state champions. Hale Ray entered that game undefeated in 34 straight games and were now heading to their second meeting with Suffield in a state final, this time with the undefeated streak extended to 56 games. In this battle, Suffield was not to be denied as they captured the Class C state championship with a 1-0 victory, finally ending Hale Ray's long undefeated streak. Dave Lill scored the lone goal for Suffield, and George Belmore was described as a tower of strength in the Wildcats' shutout win. After the victory, the Suffield team was seated in their bus awaiting the return trip home when a lone figure enters the vehicle. It's opposing coach Tom Nevers from Hale Ray. After a brief congratulatory greeting, he delivers the highest praise he can bestow on the jubilant Suffield players. You know, he starts out, we were always afraid that we were going to play poorly in some game and lose to a mediocre team. Today, we lost to an outstanding team. The victory capped Suffield High School's first ever undefeated season in any sport. Their 17 victories was the best ever in soccer, where they also set season best records for most goals, 75, and fewest goals allowed, 5. Dave Lill set the season record for most goals by an individual, 22, and career goals, 39, followed closely by Ray Galetta, who had 21 goals for the season and 34 for his career. Ray also set the season and career marks for assists at 15 and 26 respectively. For a group of guys who were basically honing their soccer skills on the fly, they set a standard and framework for all the Suffield glory years to come. Suffield now owns 13 boys and girls soccer state championships and is recognized as one of the premier high school soccer programs in Connecticut.